Passenger. So I wrote Passenger while I was walking home from work one day, singing not singing my head off, that sounds really weird and creepy, but I was kind of singing to myself, listening to the track, walking home, and just kind of making notes on my phone. I often find that I write lyrics in more unusual places, so like if inspiration takes me, then it just kind of happens. And I was walking home with this one day, and I just had this kind of melody in my head, listening to Passenger. And I wanted to play around with metaphor and imagery in this one. And this one is kind of really Viking and kind of Norse themed, and we both, again, into that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That's where the kind of at the beginning comes from. That was really kind of stereotypical kind of Viking.
Well, the song, I think when I sent the song to you, it was either called Row Your Boat.
Yeah, it was,
or something like that. It was called Row Your Boat for a while, so that's the idea of the beginning, just that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first sort of verse sounds very kind of typically Viking. They are bold, they are mean. They cut deep, cleanse, repeat, fight for plunder, fight for gold. So that within this track, there are a lot of very obvious Viking references. I reference Hela, Allfather, like I said, about plunder, all this kind of stuff. But that is the wrapping paper behind what is the true kind of meaning. So the reason why it's called Passenger is because it's essentially about anxiety, and it's about having worrying thoughts, or having this passenger beneath your skin that kind of just sits in wait, and just kind of like, biding their time. And then when you least expect them to, they appear, and they kind of raid your thoughts a little bit. And I wanted to use this idea of the passenger kind of being that person within a person, but covering it in a little Viking kind of theme. So this one's probably one of my favourites to write. And actually, I wrote it long before I kind of released it to you, if you like. I wrote it, and I did a very rough demo recording on my phone, and then I was just like, nah, it's not good enough, that. Like, I'll tweak it. And then I just kept coming back to it all the time, and I kept thinking I need to evolve the final section, because the final section is literally when Hela takes you in, keep fighting. Yeah. And I was like, it just repeats, I need to come up with something different. And then I thought, well, I do that a lot though in the other songs, so maybe I do just need to kind of just have this as that section. And a lot of the other songs that we'd written were quite melancholic, whereas this one, it's almost like a pre-persistence. It's kind of like keep fighting, and things will essentially get better. So yeah, it's kind of about being scared and being anxious, and having almost like a tiny Viking in your thoughts, ready to kind of raid your thoughts when you least want it to.
Good stuff. Yeah, again, this phrase is going to come up a lot. Recollection's foggy, but one thing's for sure. I was a massive fan of Fever Ray's self-titled album. The song When I Grow Up, I used to listen to that constantly. And the song If I Had a Heart, which is the Vikings theme, if anybody doesn't know what it is, that's the first song on the album. And we'd get together and we'd watch Vikings, and we got really into the TV show, and we love that. I mean, that song it's perfect for that kind of show. So I mean, to say I wanted to write a song that sounded exactly like that, it wouldn't be fair, because I had the idea I had the guitar riff before. Yeah. That ever happened again. It's a similar thing to gold, really, where it does the same kind of finger hammer off, pull off thing. Which I don't know where the hell I got that from, but I just if I'm ever messing about on a guitar, I just naturally go to it.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that thing, and then I realised it has a very similar chord structure to If I Had a Heart. So then again, I use that as my blueprint. So the big kind of like organ, hammer organ sound, which is so prevalent in their version, and even the kind of heartbeat. I mean, this song. Passengers doesn't have a heartbeat, but that's where the kind of simple, thuddy, ploddy drum kind of beat came from.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, like there was not really much else that kind of inspired it, really. I knew it was definitely going to be 2 parts. I knew it was definitely going to be that initial riff, and then like a really big outro.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit more full on. But that was the only kind of intentions I had, and then it just, you know. Every verse, something just kind of adds in or something happens, and then it goes to the end. And my main problem, and again, this was a little bit later. I think we wrote about 4 or 5 songs and released them up on Spotify and SoundCloud and stuff. And this, I don't think we ever did an old version of this that we released.
No.
And this was, again, something like, I need to leave room for vocals. It's not that I don't think there's room for vocals in the other ones, but I don't necessarily think in pop form or pop structure. It's always like, riff, section 1, section 2, and so it was like, right, kind of keep it in just this incline, and let the vocals kind of, you know, like rise and fall with it.
Yeah.
I do remember though playing a lot of God of War, and you know, just again, nothing on the outside, you know, nothing obviously influenced me about the music from God of War into this, but I remember playing that game a lot.
Yeah.
And again, the music in that is just incredible. So
Yeah.
probably subconsciously something kind of fed its way in. And again, someone told me that the ending kind of sounds a bit like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of track, but which I do not hear.
Yeah.
So again, maybe that's Buffy coming into it again. But yeah, again, it's a simple track, simple instrumentation. You know, acoustic guitar riff, electronic, most of it, until it gets to the end where the kind of band thing comes in.
Yeah.
I just kind of leave room for vocals. And, you know, every single song, we haven't really mentioned it on the other ones, but every single song, when they've kind of found their way to me, there's not been hardly any kind of reinterpreting or like, can you do that differently? They kind of come to me fairly finished. So, yeah, even though you were holding on to the lyrics, the lyrics, it was... When it got to it was absolutely fine. There was no problems whatsoever.